Let's talk about describing your CV. I wanted to include a section about describing your CV to interviewers. Interview technique, I think, there's a whole other course in the whole interview process, right? But I wanted to highlight how you are typically expected to explain your CV to individuals, especially in an interview or over the phone in a pre-interview or a telephone or kind of Teams interview. Because usually or often in a process, there may be a Teams interview or a Zoom interview. That might be a formal one, half an hour, for example. But sometimes someone will phone you beforehand and they'll say, walk me through your CV. Or other times in that Zoom or sometimes in the physical interview, they'll say, Ewan, walk me through your CV. Now, it typically works like this. So here I am, I've printed it out, and the reason I printed it out is because we're having a physical meeting. Often, if we're having a Zoom meeting, the CV will be on screen, and I'll be kind of scrolling up and down. Sometimes I might have printed it as well, just for organizational purposes, and sometimes because I want to write on it. And even though, yes, you can do this digitally, but sometimes it's still much better with a pen. So in some situations, you'll find it where the interviewer has not read your CV, but probably should have. I see that a lot, especially with senior executives, right, who are very busy and probably should have read the CV, and they're just trusting everybody else to have chosen the right candidates, and now they're in the interview and now they need a bit of time, and in some cases they're paddling, right? They're going, right, okay, right, Ewan, hello, yes, so look, walk me through your CV. Now that's them. Now they're getting comfortable, but what they're expecting now is for you to begin to discuss your CV. I'll come to that in just a minute. So one way is when the interviewer just is simply not prepared and they're playing for time and they want you to give them the overview, and then they'll start talking, right? That's a difficult situation because ideally you would hope that they have been through, they've not just scanned, they've read your CV before they speak to you. Sometimes there's just so much pressure, right? And they just don't have time, so they'll actually do that in the interview. And one of their techniques is to say, please walk me through. Another reason, so when the person has read your CV and they are prepared, they'll still often use that question. And one of the reasons they're doing that is they're saying, they're thinking, I want to hear this person talk about themselves. Sometimes they simply say, look, tell me about you. They'll talk through the role, they'll give an overview in the company, for example, briefly, and they'll say, look, let's meet. So why don't you tell me about you? But other times and that's your cue to then talk through your narrative, and we can explore that in a different course, right? Because there's lots of detail. But other times they will say, walk me through your CV, take me through your resume. What they mean is, let's go. Start from the top, right? Who are you? So now, if I bring up the CV, let me bring up my demo one here, and let's do that. Here's how I'd walk through that. Zoom out a little bit. Right, here we go. So Ewan, walk me through your CV. Right, okay, well, I probably start with this kind of summary here. So they'll say something like, Ewan, take me through your CV. Now, when I say start from the top, this is, typically you're probably going to say, well, look, I'm a data analyst. Don't read anything. Absolutely do not read anything out, okay? They're expecting you to walk them through. Now, you start by a summary. Look, I'm a data analyst. I've got 3 years experience. But look, let me start at the top. I'm currently working for, right? So that's how you begin. Currently working for Walt Disney. And no, you are not reading it. Do not read it. When they're saying walk me through, they don't mean read it. Okay, they've got it in front of them and they're asking you for a summary. So your job then is to summarize this. Now, I know that can be daunting, but really you just have to practice it. Okay, so be thinking about using your CV. How are you going to now explain this? And typically you might pick, if you wish, a few sections here, right? From each of these bullet points, you could pick the top 3, for example, and say, well, look, I'm a senior data analyst for Walt Disney, and one of the key things I've been doing is reporting dashboards. And you'll see the person going, oh yeah, right. And it's really quite useful if you can see their response as you're speaking. Sometimes on the phones you can't. But if you can see their response, you can see as you're going through sections how they're responding to you. You can say, look, one of the key things I did was look at error readiness and reduction, and I actually managed to reduce errors by 24% because of blah blah blah. Don't be surprised if the recruiter interrupts, right? The interviewer interrupts. Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that. Then once you've told them, they'll probably say, "Oh, carry on." So yes. So look, at Walt Disney, really, as I say, senior digital data analyst, and I think the key there has been sorting out their dashboards, making sure they're happy with this, making sure they're happy with that, and then I guess in summary, it's probably making sure that all of their information is in one place, and that's what I've been doing since 2017. And you can leave a little bit of a gap, and then they might jump in. Then you say, okay, then I want to take you on to JH and Sons. Now, JH and Sons, you may not know, right? Okay, this is why we've got their maritime sector solicitors doing this, and then so you're simply walking them through, right, at high level, showing off, talking through each of your key deliverables, key experiences, 3 or 4, not the whole CV. It depends how long your CV is, but you're not expected to. It's not a half hour while you talk about your CV. No, that question is usually say words for a few minutes while I'm getting used to what I'm beginning to think about you and I want to hear you speak, and B, or maybe I'm already prepared, but I want to know what you're thinking, and I want to know how you're describing this. And as you're speaking, I may interrupt and then ask you to continue, okay? And then but it's perfectly fine to simply go blah, 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 and then stop and say, so there you go, there's an overview. Is there anything I should go into detail on? This is something to rehearse, do some mock interviews, practice this process so that you've inhabited this. Remember, it's your experience, you've been doing this, so you are an expert in it. It's just about how you package this and summarize it for the interviewer. Okay, let me stop talking there and let's move on.